Purged. Also I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send, and who will go for us? Then I said, here am I, send me. Now, a lot of people lift that up and, use it for evangelistic crusades. And, God wants to send some people. Who will he send? Send me, said Isaiah. Then you need to be the one that God will send. Go to God and say, send me. Look what God sends him to do. And God said, go and tell this people, hear ye indeed, but don't understand. And see ye indeed, but perceive not. Make the heart of this people fat, and make their ears heavy, and shut their eyes, lest they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and convert, and be healed. He said, okay, who shall I send? Isaiah says, well, I seem to be the only human here. Send me. And he says, okay, go and preach to these people, and in so doing, you're going to make them blind, and you're going to close their ears, and they're not going to understand, and they're not going to perceive, and they're not going to be converted, and I'm not going to heal them. Okay, now go. And by the way, I'll close with that. You're done for tonight. I've kept you long enough. But by the way, do you remember when the disciples came to Jesus, and they said to him, why do you preach in parables? Why do you teach in parables? Do you remember what he said? I speak in parables lest they should understand. I speak in parables unless they would be converted, and I would heal them. Exact same language. Talking among the Jews, the very people that Isaiah was sent to put this blindness and darkness on so that they wouldn't understand and be healed. Jesus comes along later and says, by the way, I teach in parables so that they won't hear and won't understand and won't be healed. Exactly like Isaiah said would happen. Now that's the God you're dealing with. He's big and he's mighty and he's sovereign and he arrays himself in splendor and he has these magnificent creatures around him singing about his holiness, and he reveals himself to whoever he wants, and he blinds people if he wants. And then Paul will pick it up, as we saw recently in Romans 11, and says that this blindness that has come on Israel is temporary. They are blinded in part until when? Until the fullness of the Gentiles are come in. And then all Israel will be saved. Leading Paul to then say, wow! That's pretty much the summation of the closing of chapter 11. Wow! Who can understand the way God works? God does whatever God wants to do, and he closes some eyes and he reveals some things. And right now, Israel's eyes are closed, but not permanently, while he comes and gets people like Shane and Carol and Tom. And when he's done getting all the Gentiles he's going to clothe them in righteousness and give them to his son as a gift. And they're all going to be at the marriage supper of the Lamb. And then we're going to come back on horses, and we're going to rule and reign with him over Israel, whose minds are finally going to be open and their hearts are finally going to be quickened. And he's going to put his law in their hearts. They're all going to know God from the least to the greatest. No one will have to teach his brother and say, know the Lord, because they're all going to know him from the least to the greatest. And he's going to set up his kingdom for 1,000 years on planet Earth. And we're going to be here and be part of all that. And we'll be with angels singing about the holiness of God. And we'll be singing that song of the redeemed. And we'll be up there saying, holiness to God. And absolutely, that's a revival you want to be part of. I mean, now, when we get up there and say, worthy is the Lamb, which we'll hopefully get to next week, they start singing about his worthiness. Worthy is the Lamb. And he comes out and takes the scroll out of God's hands and starts taking off these seals on the scroll. And with each one he takes off, new judgments fall on the earth, because what's written in the scroll is the judgment of God. And no one in heaven is found worthy to open up the wrath of God and start bringing it on earth except the Lamb. And the Lamb shows up and starts peeling off those seals. And everybody sings in heaven about how worthy he is while he's executing that judgment. Get in line. Get in line. Worship that God.